Upapada. So, upa, you know what upa means? Huh?
Next to.
Next to. You're thinking upa, upa Hindi. Hindi's upa, upar is, you know, but not upar, but upa. Next to, or directly after, by the side of. So when we do sadhana, what's sitting down and doing sadhana called? Upasana. Right? Upasana. What's upasana break down to be? Upa asana. Asana means what?
Seat.
A seat, to be sitting. And upa means next to. So worship is called sitting next to. Sitting next to who?
Truth, God.
Okay? So upasana. Then we have upadesha. Upadesha means desha, it means being next to the teacher and getting that teaching from the teacher. So upa is next to. So the pada, you know, aruda is a pada. So the aruda lagna is also called the lagna pada. It's another name for the aruda lagna. Pada means an aruda. Yeah, same thing, same. Pada is the traditional use. Aruda is a more modern term for the same thing.
And that basically means like a reflection?
Aruda or pada?
Aruda.
Aruda means that which has risen up from. That which is arising from. That which is manifesting from. And a pada means, you know, on one level it means your foot, but it also means that which is representing, which is showing. So, Aruda Lagna is the Aruda of the Lagna, but it's also called the Lagna Pada. And Parashara doesn't call it Aruda Lagna. Parashara calls it the Lagna Pada. Just consistently he calls it Lagna Pada. And sometimes he even shortens it and he just says Pada. And when he just says Pada without anything else, we assume he means Lagna Pada. More modern texts, they call it Aruda Lagna, or the Dara Aruda, or, you know, they call them Arudas instead of Padas, but they're the same thing, just different terminology for the same. So we have Lagna Pada and then Upapada. So Upa means
Next to.
next to what?
Next to the writing. Next to the lagna.
It can mean two things. Secondary to it. So it can mean second, meaning next to the lagna, or another term, thing it can mean, which Parashara tells us, is he says that the lagna pada is the most important pada, and the upapada is the second most important pada. And that's why he has 2 complete chapters on each one. And then at the end of the one chapter, he gives a whole bunch about all the other padas. But he doesn't give them chapters or anything, because all of those other padas are secondary compared to the aruda, the lagna pada, and the upapada. Okay? Let's see, Parashara's exact words, verse 1. If you have your VPHS, you can pull it out. It's Upapada chapter.
What page is it?
I don't know. I'm using my translation.
Where did we get that?
You can get it at bookstore in San Rafael.
Oh, Open Secret?
Open Secret.
Page 430 if you guys have Sharma.
I got them online at astrology.com.
Oh, really?
So verse 1 says, "Now I will tell you the results of the Upapada. the auspiciousness of which will confer on the native removal of ancestral debts, happiness from wife, children, etc. The Aruda Lagna is the primary Bhavapada of importance. He says Tanu Bhava Pada. Tanu is which house? Tanu is which house?
First house.
First house. So Tanu Bhava Pada.
Tanu Baba Pada.
He didn't say Aruda Lagna, he said Tanu Bhava. So the Tanu Bhava Pada, the Pada of the Tanu Bhava. Vipra is Pradhanam. Pradhanam. It means it's the one that is most important. It's the one of primary importance. Then, and this is verse 2, then the Upapada, which is calculated from the Bhava following the ascendant. So secondary, next to the one that's the primary importance, is the Tanu Bhava Pada, and then comes the Upapada, which is calculated from the Bhava following the ascendant. Anuchara. The Bhava following the ascendant. Anuchara, to the ascendant. Now, this verse has multiple translations, and maybe some of you in here won't care too much, but for the tape, it's going to be important for me to explain that. Some people say that it's the one following the ascendant. So is it the second house, or is it the 12th house? Right? Because the second's also following the ascendant. Anuchara.
Conventional counting would be the second.
Yeah, that's if you're going forward. The one that's like following behind it.
Oh, following.
Like
Like
a
Trailing.
Yeah.
Squaw.
Yeah. So, and so from our tradition, we say it's the 12th house. We do not say it's anything else. Some people say it's the 12th or it's the second, depending on odd and even of the sign. So if you have an ascendant that's odd, then it's the second house. Even it's the 12th house. Some people use this. We don't. Some people say that when Parashara says it's Anuchara, it means the one, that the Tanu Bhava, the ascendant, is the most important house, and the second most important house is the 10th house. So the Upapada should be calculated from the 10th house. We do not give any validity whatsoever. At least with the 2nd and 12th, we see how they're interpreting that. But we're not doing the second most important house in the chart. We're doing the house that's following, that's Anuchara, to the ascendant. And for us, we use the 12th house and 12th house alone. For the second house, we have the A2, which shows what your family is like. Both how, I'm sure you know people who consider their family really important and spend a lot of time with their family. And then there's people who don't consider that part of life that important. They don't visit their mom, they don't put too much energy into their children, that kind of stuff. That's A2. We see all that kind of information from A2.
Why not before?
That's your mother.
That's not the family?
No, it's your mom.
A4 is mom, right?
Yeah, A4 is mom. A2 shows just your general family. And you'll see that people that end up hanging out in communities together have some similarity with the A2. Because that's who your extended family really is. At least in America, from my what I've noticed. Because, when somebody feels like family, you hang out with them more, right? So there needs to be some A2 connection happening so we feel like family. That's the second house.
So it doesn't have to be your nuclear biological family.
Not always. At least from my research, which has been more on Westerners than on Indians. Now, when you get to India, you have a different type of social life where the family is more important, and uncle and aunt live upstairs, and the family is a little bit tighter, and so you are actually hanging out more with people who are biological family. But you'll see that people that have afflicted 12th house A2 do not put any amount of time into their family. They have other things that they're putting time into.
What about roots and ancestors? Like not just your living family, but your heritage?
That wouldn't be from Arudas. That would be in the D40 and D45.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you can't see them. For an Aruda, you have to see it.
Wouldn't it be?
If you can't see it, it's not an Aruda.
Wouldn't it be if you had that afflicted 12th house A2?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be how your family is toward you? Isn't it more of an outside event rather than how you feel about your family?
No, the person, 12th house, I'm just giving an example, and we're not going to go too far into that.
Okay.
I'm just, from some charts I've seen, when A2 falls into the 12th house, the person is not putting energy into their family. It's a loss to them. They're putting energy into other things. Just, it's something
Generally,
I've noticed from my
these
research.
Upapadas are about
Those
that-
people in your life. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a reciprocal
Yeah,
process.
for the most part. I'm not going to go into it, because we also have Graha Arudas, which are different than Bhava Arudas. Okay. So, Upapada is 12th house, and it's the Aruda of the 12th house. And that shows us, let's see. Pressure, okay, yeah, in that first verse. He says, and it's verse 1, he says, I will tell you about the Upapada, the auspiciousness which will confer on the native removal of ancestral debts, happiness, sukham, from wife, dara, children, putra, adijam, etc. Okay, so it's showing us the wife, according to Parashara, and children from that wife. Particularly that wife, or that husband.
But if it's the house of loss, that doesn't make any sense.
It's the Aruda coming from the house of loss. Good. And it doesn't make too much sense right off the bat to me either. Okay?
The
So-
second house makes more sense.
For family or for
For a partner.
partner?
Because it's what you have.
But see, second house is not only what you have, but it's what you're getting and what you're keeping. It's what you're taking in, you're eating. You're eating, so you're taking from it. So it's like a garden where you're taking from it and taking from it.
But couldn't that be
So
true?
some relationships, people suck each other dry. But for real relationship, you see, the 12th house is the house of loss, but it's also the house of giving.
It is?
Yeah. So, do you want a partner who is just sucking your energy dry and taking from you? Or do you want a partner who brings you flowers and brings you things and who is giving?
But in your tradition, or this tradition,
Yeah.
it sounds like more of an idealistic tradition than about relationships, rather than more of a...
It's more about what works and what the rishis are saying. We have this verse and these people are interpreting something different from this verse.
Right. But the other traditions who believe that it's the second house.
They believe it's second or 12th, depending whether it's odd or even ascendant, which we don't see that mentioned here at all.
But it's just interesting that
Yeah.
the quality of the tradition.
But as we go into it, you'll see it's the point of giving. And when we understand fasting on Upapada, it's about activating giving.
That's how we think.
When did you say fasting Upapada?
Yeah, Upapada day. The day of the Lord ruling the Upapada.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to backtrack a little bit into the beginning of this. So I'm going to try and follow this slightly. And when this is actually available, people, when they get it, can listen to this. If they can sit through all our other stuff we talk about without falling over asleep.
So the 12th house from the Lagna is stuff you're losing. You're giving to that house, basically, right?
Giving or losing, yeah.
And
Giving or losing is a matter of perspective.
right. And then the Upapada Lagna is actually what you give to. The Upapada Lagna,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you actually give to. That's the person that you're actually giving your stuff to. Okay.
Yes.
Same thing from the Arud Lagna in the 12th house is what you're losing. Like you're losing money there.
Yeah, you're losing there.
Losing
That's
money.
just pure. That's actual things that are just
Yeah.
going away.
Yeah.
What was that?
From the 12th from Arud Lagna, you're losing money. And from the 12th from Lagna, you're losing something else, I guess.
Okay. So I got this little section on how the Upapada differs from other relationship points. So what are other relationship points? What do you know so far?
In the chart, not enough.
What do you know so far?
What do I know so far?
Mm-hmm. What are relationship points?
The second,
Why the second?
you're talking about it.
But what's important for relationship? Which houses are things in a chart?
I don't know. We obviously just talked about it.
Venus.
Seventh house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seventh house is important for relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Venus is important. What else besides Venus?
Jupiter.
Venus and Jupiter are karakas. Venus is the karaka overall for love. And for a man, it's specifically love and the wife. So for a guy, if Venus is afflicted, it's definitely it's a double bang.
Mm-hmm.
For a woman, love is Venus, but the husband is Jupiter. So one can be afflicted, but she can, Venus can be afflicted, so the love is difficult, but she can still get a good husband. Or the husband can be afflicted, but there's still lots of love there.
Mm-hmm.
With a male chart, one gets banged, then they're both banged up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Venus and Jupiter are karakas. Houses. What are important houses for relationship? Seventh house? What
Ninth
else?
house? Ninth house?
Ninth house?
Marriage?
For marriage, yeah.
12th house?
12th house for a relationship?
Sleeping together.
That's from that.
Oh, I thought it was something to do with that.
Yeah, like that, yeah.
For getting along in bed. No?
Well, they
For getting along in bed, what do we look at?
12th house?
A7.
A7.
Oh.
And for relationship to the UL. As well as, where do we see the sexuality?
7th house?
Navamsha. 7th house of the trines. Right, we see their sexuality, Navamsha, 7th house, and trines.
What's
Trines from the
A7?
7th.
Hmm?
The A7 is
The
Trines from the 7th
Aruda
and the
of the
D9.
7th house.
Okay.
Same rules, but calculate the 7th lord where it's gone.
you find the 7th lord and then you count.
And then A7 shows all about love and sexual relationships. Some people are marriage relationships.
That would be
Some people are just sexual relationships. Sometimes a sexual relationship becomes a marriage, sometimes it doesn't. But that sexual relationship we see based on the A7.
Does it follow the same row that Kennington?
Same rules. All the houses. You can calculate the root of every single house.
So you
Same
don't look
rule.
at the 12th house for bed pleasures? That's what the books say, bed pleasures. Would that be like your own comfort in your bed? By
The bed pleasures is more how well do you sleep at night.
Oh, okay. Boy, that's been bad with chances.
I know.
It has nothing to do with sex. I mean,
From the Rashi, you won't see much about sex in the 12th house.
What about the 5th house, romance?
Fifth house, romance? Well, that's going to show romance, yeah.
You're asking about what a relationship indicator.
Yeah, fifth house will show some romance.
Would you consider that seventh house for general relationship and partnership
Mm-hmm.
and sexuality? And the fifth house would be courting, dating,
Romance.
that kind of thing.
What about the Lord?
The Lord.
Do we use but the seventh Lord becomes very important. If the seventh Lord is in the ninth, what's the chance of the person marrying
A materialist.
a materialist, or who are they going to marry by chance?
Spiritual priest.
A priest, spiritual, their teacher.
Teacher.
If the A7,
Seventh
How about a
Seventh
lucky,
Lord,
How about
seventh
a
Lord.
lucky person?
what if the A7 is
Then it shows they meet lovers while they're with their teacher, or while they're at a temple.
What was the question?
Right? They find relationship when they go to temple or spiritual places or teachings or things like that. If the A7 is in ninth house, I thought you said.
No, the 11th house.
A7 and the 11th. Well, they have friends. In their friends, 11th house is house of friends. So in their friend gatherings, parties and stuff, they, among their associates, A7. So seventh Lord, though, let's differentiate, though. Seventh Lord in the ninth shows, some karma that they might, end up marrying a teacher or somebody along that line. A7 going to the fifth.
A7 or 7th Lord?
Seventh Lord, what'd I say?
Seventh Lord.
Sorry.
They,
Yeah, seventh Lord.
they're romantically in love with their partner that they marry. It's a love marriage.
It's a love marriage.
Oh.
Might also be a marriage connected to a student or something like that.
Student, yes.
So it goes both ways, the 5th Lord and the 7th
Yeah,
Lord?
I think Lakshmi Kari, she married her guru, and I'm pretty sure she has seventh Lord in the ninth house, or it's either seventh Lord in the ninth house or ninth Lord in the seventh house.
Is that in both
It's one or the other.
the Rashi chart and the Nivam chart?
Nope, that's Rashi chart.
Just the Rashi chart.
Rashi chart. We're looking at the seventh Lord.
Not
Not at this point. Seventh Lord in the eighth house. What's the chance of a divorce?
Big chance.
Big chance. So the seventh Lord is going to show us this general story about what the tendency of happening in relationship is.
What about the 7th Lord in the first house?
Then you're great at matchmaking people. Well,
Not so good.
no, it's fine. Fine. It actually shows that you are very affected by your partner. Or actually, no, it shows the partner is very affected by you. Lugna Lord going to the seventh shows that you're very affected by the partner. Seventh Lord going to the Lugna shows that the partner is has a lot of effect on you. They say, let's go here. Okay. So who's going to where? It's that first 7 axis. Who's in charge there? If they're exchanging, it
But it
becomes...
doesn't show you how you would meet the person because
Nope, that's not going to really
there's
show.
no contact.
Not on that level. Then we start looking at the Upapada or A7. So, planets in the 7th house. What if Saturn's there? You think the person is going to like younger partners?
No.
Huh?
Divorced. Widows.
Older people. Rahu's going to show widows
But what does
and
it-
divorced people.
what
Rahu
does it mean?
specifically. And sometimes I get in Indian culture, it's like divorce is considered, like if someone's been divorced, they're no good anymore. Sometimes I see Rahu there and the person's in love with a married man or a divorcee, they call him. So, it's in your chart to marry a divorcee. Go for it. It's a good excuse to, help them. But, so it's widow and divorced is more Rahu. Saturn, it just shows a tendency, a desire for older. Because he's the old planet.
My student that I emailed you about,
Yeah.
he's with somebody that's about 13 years older than him.
And what's he got in the 7th?
Saturn.
Saturn. So,